Welcome to our EcoStylish Spring event. My name is Lina Vaz. I'm the founder of EcoStylish, and we're at the Conduit, a private members club in central London with aligned sustainability values. I'm thrilled to introduce the talented fashion illustrator Yega, known for her captivating artwork that blurs the lines between fashion, art, and culture. She has achieved international acclaim with collaborations spanning from British Vogue to the Victoria and Albert Museum. Join us as we uncover the stories behind her remarkable career, hear about her latest projects, and explore her views into the future of fashion. Thank you, Yega, for being with us today.
Thank you. It's a very nice introduction.
Can you tell us a little bit about your journey as a fashion illustrator and how you first discovered this passion?
So it's a good question. I think I've always been a fashion illustrator. I just didn't know that that job existed. So growing up, I had a sister who was very into artwork. And being the younger sister, I would just go alongside her. We'd draw pageants, the Miss World pageants. It was always about the clothes, always about the dresses. So that's literally what I grew up doing. My dolls, I would sketch clothes for my dolls and then try to make them, but I wasn't very good with the making. And I continued to do this right up till when I got married. And then my husband was, this is pre-Instagram. So gives you an idea. So my husband just said, look, you're always sketching and drawing things, not always fashion, but it always has to do with the human figure or some clothed being. And he said, look, just put this on social media, start to put your artwork out there. And I did. And that's probably 10, 11 years ago now. So I started to put it out there, and then people started to say, oh, could you do this for me? Could you do that for me? Oh, this is a job. You know, people are willing to pay for this service. And then I started to discover other illustrators, Hayden Williams, Megan Hess, people who had been doing it because they knew that it was a job. I grew up in Lagos. That's not a huge thing where I'm from. We know the fashion designers, but you don't know the mind behind the sketches or the construction of the garment. So it's very accidental. So I have a background in law. I have a degree in business and marketing. It wasn't on the cards, if I say that. So I think I always was an illustrator. I just didn't know that it was a career. So it sort of just found me.
Oh, wonderful.
Put it that way, yeah.
That's brilliant. And your collaborations with prestigious brands are impressive. I only mentioned a few. Can you share some insights into how these partnerships happen and how they've influenced your career?
To be fair, whenever I'm asked this question, I always make sure I shout out Instagram. Social media is a blessing. And I think that if I hadn't had that idea to say, look, just put your work on the internet, I probably wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now. So a lot of it happened organically. And the great thing is, in the past, say 20 years ago, you had to know the art director, you had to know the creative director, you had to be very connected to do what I'm doing. But now, the art director is on Instagram. You might not know what they are. They're always the ones with the very nondescript handle. They're not out there. They're not saying, here I am, art director in British Vogue. But if you are very consistent and you are creating certain types of things, I think that opportunity will find you. And that's what happened to me. A lot of the jobs I had, for example, the Dubai Mall, the team reached out to me by DM. So at first, you know, when you're looking at, I can't be the Dubai Mall, that's not real. But it was, and it's still one of my biggest projects till date. Yeah. And they had really big spaces in the mall where they needed, rather than just a boring white wall, they said, let's supersize some illustration. I'm not Arab, I'm not from the Middle East. I was somewhere in England and my work traveled all that way. And you have friends in the airport or they arrive in Dubai, they go to the mall and they're like, your work is in the mall. And it's through social media. So
was that the case also with Maison La Durée?
Maison La Durée that was more organic. I did meet the team in London. They have lots of stores here. So that was a bit more organic. And that's another thing, networking. Always talk to people. Always be polite to people. You never know who you're speaking with. So I have an extroverted personality anyway, so it's been easy for me to do that. But a bulk of my work has come from good old Instagram and just posting online.
What are some of the key takeaways from the experience of leading the Illustrating African Fashion workshop at the V&A? I'm sure that was a thrill.
Yes. That definitely has been a highlight of my career. For those who don't know what that is, Africa Fashion was an exhibition held in 2022, so it ended in April 2023. But it's the first ever fashion exhibition on African fashion, the history of African fashion from the early, documented African fashion from the 50s till now. And so I was invited to the opening ceremony, the party. It was really lovely to see a lot of people who have shaped African fashion there. And then later on, the very first workshop. So basically, you are teaching about a subgenre of illustration that nobody's really heard about before. So it's real first in many, many ways. And just to be part of that was very it's one of those moments you're like, yes, this means a lot to me, not just because it was fashion illustration, but it was African fashion illustration, which is something I'm always championing, because there's a lot going on the continent in a positive way. So that was lovely. It's over now. It did move to the Brooklyn Museum in New York, and I'm hoping that it will travel a bit more because people need to know about what's happening in that fashion scene. So yeah.
You founded a Fashion Illustration Africa, I think probably in the back of that, I'm guessing. Can you tell us a little bit more about this community and how it all started?
Sure. So Fashion Illustration Africa started in 2020. We all know all the things that happened in 2020, but for me, it was already building because when I started in illustration, and I'm 10 years in illustration, officially being a business this year, I didn't have any role models. Fashion illustrators are very much male. It's a very, very, very male dominated industry. And I teach classes at the BNA. And when I'm doing the history of illustration, it's like Georges this and male name that. And some of the students go, why are there no women? I do not know why there are no women. And that's why I just realized that apart from women, I couldn't see anybody who was black as well. So it's a very Western lens. But there are illustrators I know in Singapore, there are illustrators I know in Brazil doing amazing things, but I can only speak for, what my heritage is. So I just thought, look, there are people on the African continent who need to know that, look, this is a very viable career. There's also ways that we create clothing. So a very quick backstory. If you're getting married in Nigeria, you are not wearing something off the rack. You are going to a local seamstress or a tailor, and they are making something for you that's bespoke. So how do you tell them what to do? You sketch it on paper. So we all become fashion illustrators. I've been sketching things since I was very little. Oh no, make the arm like this and like that. And that's what a fashion illustrator does in a fashion brand. So it's something that if they just had the skills, they had the education, there'd be many, many, many more of me. So that's what Fashion Illustration Africa is.
And in your opinion, what are some of the most exciting developments happening in fashion today? And I want to know your position about AI because nowadays there's so many.
Okay. I think what's most exciting about fashion is how open fashion is now in two ways. So fashion is no longer Western focused. It used to be very much the heritage houses, LVMH. It had to be, just YSL, all the big brands. Paris was very central. But now people are excited to see what lies outside of that. I think another exciting thing is all the prizes. So, again, the LVMH prize, the Walmart prize has been there for a very long time. Yeah, exactly. Like Fashion Trust Arabia. And we were talking about a designer from Italy who basically just won a prize or was a finalist in the prize. So I think the more they're opening these things up, talent from elsewhere, enriching the fashion landscape and making us see that, look, fashion is very multifaceted. When it comes to AI, as an artist, it is worrying because you do not want something that you labor over to be made a little, something you just type into a computer and it generates something. But the truth is, I'm not afraid of AI because AI will only give out what you put in. So it will never have that human element. But I think for us as artists, there is the danger where maybe a little job you could have gotten where you were going to do a logo. Now AI could possibly easily do that job. What does that mean? You really have to upskill to the point where you are invaluable and you're bringing something really unique. And so they can't get that from the machine and they have to come to you.
What are some of upcoming projects or collaborations that you're excited about, and how do you see your role evolving in the future?
Things I'm excited about, there's actually quite a bit. June is always a really exciting year. So if you don't know, At the V&A, there's an exhibition on the life, the career of Naomi Campbell. So I'm doing some events around that. Super excited because she's just a dream to draw anyways. So look out for that in June. It's the 22nd, I believe. And then I'm also teaching it's more like hosting a drawing event at the Courtauld Gallery, that's in Somerset House. So it's going to be a Morgan Stanley Late. It's the 19th of June. But we always have a great time. It's the great room, lots of ancient artwork. I mean, there's something called the Bloomsbury Group. So Vanessa Bell, they're doing an exhibition on her life. She's basically like one of the first female artists to really modernize the way we look at artwork. So it's going to be based on all her drawings. Come around, you get artwork, you get drawing boards. You can just get stuck in. If you've never done any drawing before, nobody else in the room has, so it doesn't matter. And so it's a really, really lovely thing to do. So go on the website, check it out. You can buy some tickets there. And I also have some things going on for London Design Festival, but that's in September. So there's a lot going on. So if you don't follow me on social media, you can keep up. As for my evolving role, I really am moving from, I want to work with this brand, or I want to work with that brand, to more of how do I make the landscape of illustration richer? There are a lot of people who reach out to me and say, look, Yega, I want to do what you're doing. I'm doing mentoring now. So I have 10 female artists in the west of Africa. We meet once a month, and it's something I want to keep doing. They're really talented. They just need opportunity. They just need an open door. And they need to know like the nitty gritty of how do you run a business. It's nice to post squares on Instagram, but how do you make sure you're making money, you have a professional outlook, you're not posting work that shouldn't be on your profile, you're attracting the right clients. So that's what I'm doing. It's more of helping others to do what I'm doing now, because I wish I had that when I was starting out. So I'll probably be farther ahead. So yeah, that's
Would you
me.
consider running workshops in dream locations?
Oh yeah. I think that's it. I'm more at the dream stage. So it's like V&A was something I never even thought about. So that's amazing. Just to walk in there and go, oh, I'm going to work. That's really nice. And then the Courtauld is also beautiful. But I'm also looking at maybe more international. I do a lot of work in the Middle East. I want to resume doing that again. So just collaborating with more artists. And I think an exhibition is on the cards. I've never done that before.
And one of the things that struck me when I studied fashion design is that you can develop your own signature style the same way that your handwriting. For an illustrator, what advice would you give for people to find their own signature?
I love that you said that when you said handwriting, because literally that is the exact analogy that I use when I'm describing this to people. When they start out, a lot of artists are trying to copy the David Downtons or the Megan Hesses. And I understand that. I did that as well, thinking this is how I should draw so I'll be famous or whatever. But the truth is, it is like handwriting. And everybody here, if we signed our name, even if we wrote the same name, it'd all be different. So I always say, be true to yourself. Find out what you enjoy doing, because if you put something out, people will tell you to draw that. So only draw what you like to draw. I don't really like to draw plants and houses and trees, so I don't do that. So people now, they know me as a fashion illustrator. So I think the truer you are to yourself, the longer you can stay in the career. You don't get burnt out because you genuinely enjoy it. And I think always have positive people around you, so family that supports you, because there are days when it gets really tough, especially as a freelancer, entrepreneur. So that's what I would say, is just keep at it, do what you really love to do, and always ask for help if you need to. Keep learning. There's YouTube, there's all sorts of things. You don't even have to go to university now to be a fashion illustrator. Where one of the best times to be alive to be an artist is now. Okay, so that's what I would say.
And what advice would you give to aspiring artists who are already working, but really want to make their mark?
There's no easy answer to that, but I would say, if you have an idea or a dream, don't sit on it. I think people are, maybe we're even guilty in this room, is just sitting on dreams. And the truth is, the event we're at now was in your mind at some time. Yeah. And then you just said, you know what, I'm going to book the conduit. You didn't know that we were going to turn up, but we did. So I started to sketch. I never knew what was going to happen on the cards. And when I look back, it's 10 years, what are you talking about? I'm very happy to be a mum. But my daughter was just a year old. She's 10 years old now, and she knows that, oh, mommy draws for a living. because I took the chance. So I
And
just
it's
say
also an inspiration for her.
for her, and she's very artsy as well. So take the chance and do it. It doesn't matter how crazy it is. It's always better to say, "Ooh, that was really bad," than "what if." What if is one of the worst things, I think. So if you're an artist, you have an idea for an exhibition, you can't rent the biggest place, and do it in your back garden. Your friends will come through. So I think for me, it's just take opportunity.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Yega, for your insights, and thank you all for joining us.
Well, thank you.
Remember, each of us has the power to change fashion and to make a difference through our choices. Give a chance to pre-loved fashion and sustainable brands. We continue to host events in real life and for shopping and swapping, and to share inspiring stories of talented people in the fashion industry with everyone here and online. And thank you for all who are here today. Stay tuned for more eco-stylish events and sign up to our monthly newsletter or follow us on social media. Bye for now.